Okay,
Let's start.
great. Great. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that slot in that important community. And today I want to share you about generative UI. Obviously, it's possible to use or implement generative UI using any framework, React, Angular, Vue. But today I show you an example with Angular, and the proposal or that interesting feature with our experience using AI chats. Yeah, and let me. Yeah, first of all, originally I'm from Colombia, but I live in Bolivia, and I am working for .mes. It's a global company to create content and website. And actually, in our platform, I am investigating about a POC about implement our AI agent using generative UI. And this is the important, that feature is so important because normally you need to create a appealing experience with your AI or with your corporate chat, or integrate your agents. But what is the best way to create that experience for our users? Yeah. In the majority of the chats or corporate chats, um, only show a text. Yeah, because the large language models by default just responds text. Obviously, they are multimodal models, but when you need to implement your own chat experience in your company, yeah, you have a lot of several tons of text. But the idea is replace with UI or complement that information with the UI, not Markdown. It's really UI components rendered depends on the user needs, your window contents, yeah, and instead of only use text, yeah. Here they are another example. In that case, the example is tell me about Paris, for example, and compare it with to the left side. Yeah, it's text that chat is a current information, but it's not appealing. It's not the best experience for our users. Obviously, ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic implement generative UI in their interfaces, but in our cases, it's more complicated. Yeah, and the idea today is show different types to implement that pattern, that experience in your corporate charts, and there are a lot advancements in that field. In that case, there are three types of generative UI. The first one is static UI. Second one, declarative and open-ended UI. Those are the different kinds to implement that kind of experience in your user interface, in your own interface. Yeah. The static UI is the easiest way to implement. Yeah. Because it's possible implement according to AI logic. Even it's possible declare that component as a tools. Yeah, because a tool is a way to connect with external system. And but using SDKs, even using ADK from Google, it's possible declare that components as a tools. Therefore, you need declare your prompts, your inputs, the description for that component, and the AI filling that information for you. Depends of the context needs. Yeah, the basic example for that is a basic prompt, a basic request. What is the weather in New York City, for example? And the classical chat responds only with text, but it's possible create or respond with a card. Yeah, but the AI fill in that information according the tool, according to the knowledge. You need a structured output. behind that is on the hood that use structured output to fill those specific prompts: the city, the icon, the temperature. Yeah. Then a good metaphor for that, I think, is like a color books for kids, because you need to define age per component per case. Yeah, for example, the weather car or the checkout component. Yeah, define the description, define your inputs, and the AI fill in that information on the fly in runtime. That is a good metaphor for that. Here is another example. In that case, is to sum up a lot of information. Yeah, even show a line chart for a simple response, or for a simple request by the user. Yeah, get the stock price for Apple is the case, and respond not only with text, respond with a card showing that information, showing the prices, movement. Yeah, and the second type to implement that is the Clear UI. They are two protocols to implement that: OpenJSON UI and A2UI by Google. It's impressive because compared to the static UI, the trade-off with the static UI is you need to define per each case a new component. But using that kind of protocols, define a design system, yeah, your blocks, and the AI decide what blocks is proper to build in runtime on the fly your UI. For example, you have tabs, cards with a list, with a buttons, with typographic, with avatars. You give all your catalog. Obviously, it's possible customize that protocol according to your company styles, according to your design system. But instead of declare each component, or instead of declare each case, all you need give a catalog and AI build that information. But the trade-off with that is the protocol based on JSON. Let me show you how it works. In that case, to define that flight status cards, for example, that AI is represented with a JSON. With that JSON, it's so large, but it's the way to express that UI as a JSON, and that's that information. Yeah. Let me show you another example. Even, for example, that card, the recipe card, yeah, with tabs, with an avatar, with icons. That is the way to express that information, because the language models are so good writing text. Therefore, a natural way makes sense. The way to express that UI is using the JSON spec. Yeah, but you need implement in your UI strategy to parse or to transform that JSON in really a user interface. Yeah, in that case, the A2UI protocol by Google have a great libraries to implement automatically in your React project or using web components in Angular and Flutter, but support that protocol for Android and iOS is work in progress. But apparently that current hue is available. I don't know, but that is the libraries to implement that protocol. Okay, the metaphor for that, I think, is like Legos, yeah, because AI has all blocks, all your design system, all your base components, and according to user needs, according to your rules, build on the fly and render the proper components, the proper UI. instead of only respond with several tones of text. Yeah. And the last one that kind of so powerful because it's embed a complete app in your chat application. That protocol is open-ended UI, and to achieve that, use MCP to connect the both parts, the embedded app and your host as a chat. For example, Anthropic have a great example with that because it's possible interact with the Scala Draw in your chat in real time, ask for modification, update, and the application responds simultaneously. And even ChatGPT has a great protocol for that. Under hood is using iFriends and MCP protocol to connect both applications. And I think the metaphor for that is like a museum, yeah, because you are the host, you are the owner for the chat, but each picture is a new complete application, but it's a powerful protocol because, for example, in this example is so great because it's possible ask or book whatever any fly using that application. Yeah, let me show you an example here. In that case, this is my request. Yeah. Okay, let me show another request here. Destination, yeah, I think London. Here, and for example, I am alone the next Monday, but tell me the exact date, next Monday. Let me check for tomorrow, yeah. For tomorrow, for example, let me check. And in that case, embed a complete application inside my chat, in my host chat, yeah. In that case, it's possible to interact with that, yeah. And next, even choose my seat, fill my information, yeah. That protocol is so useful because you keep the attention in your host chat, keep the experience without leave the application, embed a complete application in your chat. This is a great way to implement that. Yeah. Zooming up, yeah, there are three different kinds or protocols to implement that. Again, static UI, predefined components, declarative UI, and open-ended UI is the ways to implement appealing UI or complement text or the chat experience using UI in your chat. Yeah. Now is the demo time, because I need to create a way to show how it works under hood. In that case, I'm going to use Angular and Hashbrown libraries to implement the field approach, static UI approach. Yeah. And Hashbrown is a great library to create these kind of experiences. And it's possible to use Angular or React. Vue is work in progress, the support for that, but it's for more popular frameworks, Angular, React is possible. Use that library. Yeah. Here I had a great example. In that case, this is a traditional e-commerce, yeah, with products, with electronics, yeah, shoes, and even it's possible add products in my bag. But the interesting part here is the chat, obviously, yeah. And that chat responds according to the user needs. Let me show you how this works. For example, show me products for winter. I know, let me check. In that case, that AI or that AI system retrieve that information according to my endpoint to give the products and complement that information with a card showing the products. Yeah, it's not it's not a static UI. Is that UI is created on the fly according to user needs, because if you see the request, that is the full list with the products. Yeah, this is a fake API for products. In that case, that is the API. Just made a request in that endpoint and retrieve leaks with different kind of products. Yeah, but in that case, the chat consumed that endpoint. In that case, there are, I don't know, 50 products, but in that case, show 6 products, because AI filtered that products according the user needs, according the user request. Yeah, products for winter. AI obviously try to filter according the description, the products titles, but it's a good response instead of only response text. Yeah, it's possible navigate across the platform. Yeah, even come back to the chat to continue with the experience. Let me ask another example. For example, let me check. Yeah, for example, accessories. Do you have accessories for my wife? In that case, here is the response. The response is using a streaming response using Gemini, and in that case, the first part is the text and complement that information with that products according the descriptions. Yeah, but how can achieve that kind of experience? For that, I prepare a demo from scratch, a basic Angular application to achieve or to enable this kind of application. By the way, the projects for that, for example, the code for that e-commerce is the repo is that in my personal repository. E-commerce full stack is an Angular application, and that from scratch, or that application from scratch, the repo is that AUI demo. Okay, that UI demo is so basic application from scratch using Tailwind and Angular, and a basic template with a chat. Yeah, the idea is enable generative UI in that application from scratch. That's the code. Again, this is a basic example, a basic setup for an Angular application. And in there is a spec markdown with all the steps, and I try to follow that steps to achieve our demo. Yeah. The first step is obviously in your Angular project, you need to install the Hashbrown dependencies. You need core Angular. Obviously, depends on your framework. In your case, if you need React, obviously install React. In my case, it's Angular project. Yeah, I choose the Angular for that. And you need pick up your AI provider. In that case, obviously Google, but it's possible use another provider for that. Yeah. A constraint for that, you need a server for that, for create the request, because it's so dangerous. Run obviously your request in the client side. Therefore, you need a application with server-side rendering. Even with Next or in Angular, it's possible to create server-side rendering. In that way, it's possible to reuse the server configuration to expose the special endpoint to consume the model and to achieve this kind of experience. In the Angular case, you have that file server TS. Is a basic Express.js server to enable server-side rendering for Angular application. Therefore, it's possible reuse that server and just expose an extra endpoint to enable that. In that case, you need import Hashbrown Google, yeah, and you need that part. You need expose that endpoint to consume your Google model, yeah, and that's it. That's the configuration in the server. That line is so important. You need to enable JSON mode for that endpoint. Obviously, you need a Google API key. Yeah. Therefore, you need a in your end file, you need your Google API key. It's possible to generate using AI Studio to consume the Google models. I have my key in the end file, but I want to show you for security reasons because it's a key. Please don't share your API keys in GitHub or whatever. But here, put your API, Google API key. And okay, now you need a client configuration. That part is your server configuration, yeah, to consume the model. Now you need a configuration in your client side, in your front-end application. In the Angular case, the configuration file is app.config.ts. You need to add a configuration. You need to provide Hashbrown, and you need to expose that provider in your Angular providers. So you need to import that part, just import and connect that. Here is important connect with your endpoint. In case when your front-end application is just a single page application or is just plain site rendering, you need an extra server, because even it's possible put that part of the code in a microservice, in a standalone project using Express, Hono, or even whatever, any JavaScript framework in the backend. But if you reuse your server-side configuration in your front-end application, is good. In that case, you connect with your endpoint, and for some models, that that attribute is important. Emulate structure output, and in my case, I'm going to consume Gemini 2.5, and for that case, I need enable that that flag, that attribute. Okay, now in that case, this is my chat application. Yeah, my chat is a basic template. Is just that. Let me check my server and restart my Angular server with a new server. Yeah, to enable the new configurations. Yeah, that is the basic configuration is done. Now it's time to work in the chat component. That is a basic template, but the component is empty. Yeah, in that case, you need to declare a chat result. Chat results is a method provided by Hashbrown. For that, you need declare your model and your system prompt, and that's it. Yeah. Now, to render that, you need in your HTML file. Let me show you in that window. Yeah, you need just put a simple for to retrieve that information and just print the message. Yeah, I need to comment that part just to continue with the demo. Okay, now the render is available, but it's not possible send a message. For that, I need to enable that method to send message, the message, and for that I need a user message signal. Signal is a new structure in Angular to reactivity. It's so cool way to handle reactivity in Angular. Even if Signal is so famous in frameworks, in front-end frameworks such as Solid, Vue, Svelte. Yeah, it's a great pattern to handle reactivity. Okay, I need to import a Signal method, and okay, that's it. Now in my text area, yeah, in that part, in my front-end application, just I need enable that part to bind the value, the text area value with my signal message. And finally, just I need bind that method with the button. And now let me show the result. In that case, hi Google. Let me check. In that case, this is the render and that is the response. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, this is a basic chat in couple lines. For example, tell me about Angular, for example. Yeah, here is the endpoint. This is the request for the endpoint. In that case, you reuse my server component, and the response is that it's not good because the response by default is using Markdown, but in the future steps, I'm going to enable Markdown support. But that with a couple lines is a great way to enable this kind of chat. So basically, in just a couple lines, yes, it's magic because it's implement AI system in your front end, and it's so impressive. Okay, now obviously I need to improve our UI, and as a part of the response, it's possible identify what is the role by message. Based on that, choose the proper way to show that message. In that case, you have an attribute per message role, and according to that, it's possible, yeah, to show the user information, the content, and now with that change, yeah, now I have a great, more appealing UI for a classical chat. But now this is a normal chat. It's even only use text. The idea is implement UI as a part of the experience. Yeah. Now, to achieve that, you need change chat resource with a specialized method to implement UI or generative UI. In that case, the method is UI chat resource, provided by Hashbrown library. Yeah, but it's mandatory. The components attribute is mandatory. Therefore, you need declare your components. Even it's possible live without NPRI, but the idea is, yeah, show with feeling with your components. In that case, I had a component with that, the markdown component, and that component is a classical component by Angular. Yeah, it's Markdown component with a CSS file. Yeah, with my styles, with my template. Yeah, it's a normal component. Even in React, it's the same. It's a basic component. The key part is that method, because expose component, that method is provided by Hashbrown, and in that case is the way to expose that component as a part of your AI or your engine, a part of the logic, as a part of your logic. Therefore, that the descriptions and inputs is so important, because it's a way to describe your interface, and the AI chooses what is the proper time to use that component. Therefore, that description is so important. It's part of the context engineering, it's part of the prompt engineering. You need to find your so clearly the description, your inputs, yeah, and expose that component as a part of your agent or your chat. In that case, I need to import that component and declare here as a part of that data, right? But again, it's not a classical Angular component, is the method with the description, with the goal for that component. And obviously in that part, you describe your component, which are in a classical mode. Okay, now let me move on, and let me reload here and check my server. Yeah, my server I think is good, or let me just restart again. Yeah, I have, okay, anyway, I think restart here. Yeah. Okay, now let me try again. Hi. Yeah, this is the response, but now the assistant message is different, because it's not text, it's not only plain text, it's a UI component. Therefore, with my previous strategy, that message is not working well, because I need an extra chain. You need in your chat HTML template, your content is not a paragraph. The assistant content, the AI content is not a paragraph. It's not a paragraph itself. It's the UI. Therefore, you need a special component to render that. In that case, the special component is called Hashbrown render message. In the Angular case, you need to import that utility, and that's it. Yeah, in that case, that utility is called render at a message component, and reuse that component here. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. Let me restrain. Yeah, and let me try again. Hi. And now let me tell me about Angular, because by default respond with Markdown, but now I have a special way to render that, yeah, that information using Markdown. Or show me a list, a feature list, for example. Yeah. In that case, yeah, Markdown is enabled in my chat experience, but it's not a card. Yeah, it's not agreed with my component, with my products. You need an extra tool to connect your chat with your API, with your storage, with your system. Yeah, because again, a tool in AI, in agents, is a way to connect with external system. Using the same strategy, you need to find a tool. In that folder, I had a tool, and you need to create that tool using the Hashbrown library. And again, you need a clear description to give that context for your AI model, and the AI model decide in what time is is good time to retrieve or to call that tool. Here is so powerful, that part is so powerful because in React or in Angular, it's possible to reuse all your architecture or your code base. In that case, for example, I had a product service in Angular is a way to expose or to retrieve or to connect with classical APIs. In that case, I connect with I made a request to give or to retrieve the products, and just connect and reuse that service. Yeah, and reuse the same service. In that case, that service is used in my stores to render my grid. Yeah, in that case, reuse the same service to call or to connect that storage, that JSON with my AI experience. And that is so powerful because, again, it's possible to reuse your front-end architecture, your code. In that case, I am using the product service and return the products. Yeah. Okay. And to enable that, you need send the tool. You import your tool. And yeah, now you have a tool to retrieve the products. Now let me try again with this new chain. In that case, show me the products. Yeah, or show me full products. And let me check. In that case, this is the response. If you see, this is the payload for your model, but the second is a really and in real time request connecting with your API. And it's possible to reuse your code base, and in your system you have, I don't know, sessions, login. It's possible to reuse all the architecture. In that case, that is the products. And now the response is according my products. Yeah, it's a long list, but it's my products. It's possible. Show me the same example previously. Show me the winter products. Winter products. Yeah, products. Yeah. Anyway. Again, it's a chat, retrieve the request, and now let me here is the response. Yeah, but again, the response, that is a good advance because right now my chat is connect with my catalog, with my API, with my database, using my, obviously the not directly is a query in a database, it's using my REST API service, but now it's connecting. Yeah, it's not a general language model. It's that products is my catalog. Yeah. Now, even it's not a card. It's not it's a markdown. It's text. And the last part is enable component, a special component to render my product list. In that case, I had two components for that. A product list component, but that product list component is just a wrapper. Even without code, even the logic for that is just HTML. It's just a wrapper. Yeah, it's a grid with a ng content. It's a way to embed or to reuse a piece of content, ng content. Or, technically, is Angular content projection. In React, is more popular, but it's possible reuse that. But it's a wrapper, and in that case, expose that component using a description. In that case, is to grid a catalog product after get products. Yeah, this is my tool. This is the description, the purpose for that component. Here, that is the children components. In that case, the AI chat product card is my real product to show each component. In that case, is my product card component with all attributes: title, price, description, yeah, the slug, and this is my markdown, yeah, my HTML code to represent that product. And that's it. In that case, again, you need to expose that component and describe all the purpose in general, the description, but again, the description per input is so important. Yeah, in that case, product title for catalog, unit price, yeah, because with that AI choose or fill in that information according to the user needs, according to the tool, according to the information in the tool, and fill in that information using the tool and fill that information. Yeah. And now I need to enable that in my chat. Now I replace just it's possible to replace. Obviously, in more advanced advanced case or more complex case, you has a lot of components, a lot of tools. Yeah, Hashbrown with how it's possible implement multi agents also as well, because it's possible delegate in another's chat resources with your own tools or with your own components. But just for that example, let me try with that. Okay, now let me show you again. Show me your products. Yeah, your products. Okay, now let me and the products and the response spending. Okay, spending. Oh, it's so long time. Let me check my server. Yeah, it's a lot of time. Yeah, but let me restart because it's part of the demo live experience. Yeah, you know. Let me restart and reload. Yeah. Show me the show me products. Show me products. Yeah, now just wait for that. In that case, for example, obviously in that case it's possible again use more components, more tools. In that case, I am using the both components, and it's possible, for example, use or declare checkout component, for example, according my status, according the user status in my chat, is possible, I don't know, declare a specific component or reuse the same component to show your back status in your chat. Yeah, with a request like I don't know, show me my back, and I need to pay that with, I don't know, with any way to pay. But it's possible to declare each component per each case. This is the response. I think it's because I asked the full list, but in that case, it's not text. It's a real card showing my catalog using AI. Now, in that case, again, is the full product list, but it's possible use Angular, use AI as a filter, show me products for my kids, for example. I don't know, because I had these kind of products, and based on the description or your title products, AI filter. With more complex situations or environments, you need declare your tools with filters, or obviously according to your API, you need use the proper way to filter that information. But in that case, this is the demo. But let me. And here is the product for kids. Apparently, that according to the AI, this is the product for kids. Yeah. Apparently, it's a full list. It's not a filter, but anyway. In that case, I replace with a spirit or text with directly UI, and it's possible to mix the both kind of response. In that case, in that example, response in the using the both strategies, yeah, text and cards with a grid cards with your products. That is so powerful in your corporate chats because with that is possible create again. Let me show the first examples here. Yeah, and transform your experience, your corporate chat experience. Instead of only response text, response like a ChatGPT UI, like a Gemini UI, because Gemini AI and Anthropic respond not only with text, responds with cards, with UI, and in that way is possible to achieve the same goal using Hashbrown as a library. I think the more advanced way is using declarative, because my strategy for the Angular project was static UI, yeah, because you need predefined components. Again, it's a colorful. You need to declare each component per case. Checkout component, your out component, your grid card component, yeah. But declarative UI is more advanced, and it's possible implement that using ADK. Yeah, for example, to implement that protocol, it's possible use directly agent developer kit and enable that protocol. But to implement that experience in your chat, you need this kind of libraries to render in proper way, yeah, in Angular on a Flutter. But I think this is another demo for another opportunity. But the idea is show the difference kind to achieve that, to improve your experiences. Again, there are three different types: declarative or the static UI, each component. Here is the demo, yeah, in that case. And declarative UI is a pattern. You need a catalog and you need follow a JSON protocol to achieve this kind of experience. And finally, embedded UI is more complex because you embed a complete application and you need an MCP protocol to connect both applications in the both sides. And yeah, that's it. This is my demo. And again, for questions or for steps, this is the repo, the NGH UI repo with all steps to achieve my same demonstration. And the full project, that project is a monorepo using NX. And here is the implementation, yeah, in that part. Yeah, thank you for your time, and that is my presentation.